Small business, there's a proposal that the administration is reportedly thinking about specifically targeted toward helping small businesses. Can you describe it?
Absolutely. We know that small businesses are the engine of growth in the economy, and we absolutely want to do things to help them. There are already a lot of things to help them in the recovery package, and some of what will be coming out are the things that were in the recovery package, increasing the SBA loan guarantees, lowering fees. But we also know that we've talked to a lot of small business owners, and one of the trouble they're having is just community banks don't want to lend to them because the secondary market in SBA loans has virtually disappeared. So one of the things will be...
The secondary market where most of the lending takes place, about 40% of lending takes place.
Absolutely, and where, you know, banks go and they sell those SBA loans off their books, and then they can go back and make more of them. And that market's just been frozen, and one of the things we'll be announcing is a program to get that market cleared and working again.
And how will you do it?
Basically, the government will go in and step up and buy those loans if there aren't private investors to do it. To get
How much money will the government pump into the market?
I think that's all going to be announced tomorrow. I don't want to take all the thunder away, but it is a significant amount. We want to demonstrate a genuine commitment, because we know we're doing a lot of help for banks, we're doing a lot of help for homeowners. Small business people need it too.
What about AIG? The government has about an 80% stake in AIG, and on the papers, front pages of the papers this morning, the fact that they are now paying out hundreds of millions of dollars of bonuses. Treasury Secretary Geithner was opposed to it, talked to the CEO of AIG and said so. Nevertheless, these bonuses are going forward. A lot of people are going to be angry about that. Is there anything the administration can do to stop it?
Can I say we're the first people to be angry? So absolutely, Secretary Geithner has been furious and has been pushing back, urging them to renegotiate this. We're pursuing every legal means to deal with it. You know, I think the truth is AIG is just a problem. It's not a problem anyone wants to have to deal with, and it's unfortunately a problem we've inherited and are managing the best that we can.
What power does the administration have to stop AIG?
You know, with the administration, certainly as much as possible. I think, you know, there are questions of contracts and what we're able to do with contracts that have been signed. But we will absolutely do everything possible to make sure that the money we put in there is spent in the way we think is appropriate.
Does this make it more difficult for the administration to seek additional funds to help the banks and other companies like AIG down the road?
I mean, the administration very much knows that we've got to spend this money correctly, that there's an accountability on everything that we do. And we've, you know, when we did the recovery package, we've accepted that responsibility unbelievably to maintain good accounts, accountability, a website. And absolutely, we've got to watch everything that we do to make sure that we're spending the money responsibly for the American people.
The President's economic team has come under some criticism, namely Treasury Secretary Geithner, for not instilling a great deal of confidence with regard to plans to shore up the financial system. And one of those areas focuses on something that you would think would be simple, but apparently it's not, and that's staffing the Treasury Department. This is how the AP reports on it on March 5th. Critics say part of the problem is that Geithner is flying solo. Not one of his top 17 deputies has been confirmed. And without senior leadership, lower-level Treasury employees can't make decisions or represent the government in crucial conversations with banks and others. If you go to Treasury's website, your own website, under the heading of senior Treasury officials, there's one name on there, Tim Geithner, the Treasury Secretary. If this is an economic war, isn't this akin to going to war without an army?
So I think we need to be clear that there are certainly people there. He has brought in people. They're obviously not a large number of them are confirmed. I don't like the reference to the Treasury staff unable to do anything. There is a huge professional career staff, and if you think of what most of the work we're having to do are the nuts and bolts, getting all of these programs that we're putting into place right, it's that career staff.
But Paul Volcker, another top economic advisor, said it's shameful that these people are not in place. His top officials are not in place. You say the people, the career people. I've certainly talked to people who are in the Treasury Department and say the people responsible for communicating with Wall Street, for doing that nuts and bolts work, are simply not there. It's all falling on the Treasury Secretary. It's not as if this administration didn't see these problems coming back prior to taking office. Why wasn't this a priority, getting these people in place?
I mean, it absolutely is a priority. I think another thing, I do a little historical reference here, which is if you look at how many people we've gotten into senior positions in this administration, it's really very high in comparison, even at the Treasury. I think that's the numbers.
What's the historical parallel where you don't have any of your top people that you've nominated in the Treasury Department serving during the biggest economic crisis since the Great Depression?
I mean, you're absolutely right that this is a very serious crisis, and we certainly need all hands on deck. The Treasury Secretary is working as hard as he can to get those people into place.
Is part of the problem that the administration or the more political advisors in the administration don't want people from Wall Street, don't want people who are experienced because they think they're tainted?
No, of course not. We want the best people to be dealing with things.
Right.
And
so what's the problem? Where are they? You just had 4 people withdraw their nomination, including Raj Cohen, who is one of the most senior people on Wall Street as a lawyer with Sullivan and Cromwell, who's advised all of these banks, and now he's pulled out.
I think one thing to realize that the Obama administration is doing business in a different way, and we do have very strict rules on, sort of the kinds of vetting requirements and whether you can have been a lobbyist and things like that. And it does tie your hands on some of the people you can hire, but we think the administration has made the decision it's worth it to have honesty and accountability and a sense of confidence for the American people.
Most economists believe that until the financial system is shored up, until these distressed assets are removed from these banks' balance sheets, stimulus won't work and the economy won't recover. And yet, the administration has yet to provide a detailed blueprint about how they're going to remove these assets. What's taking so long, and what is the plan?
All right, so there are 2 things to say. One is, I don't agree with the idea that that stimulus can't do anything until the financial rescue is done. I think, in truth, those things go parallel. And if you think back to the Great Depression, it's actually getting the real economy going was the main thing that helped to bring the banks around.
But didn't FDR first shore up confidence? The bank holiday was what he did first before he got to fiscal stimulus.
Actually, a crucial thing, we did the bank holiday. It took the next 2 years to actually clean up the banks. That we actually did not get the things really cleaned up until 1935. And that a big part of that cleanup was he managed to turn around the real economy. We saw employment growing again, GDP growing again, and that inherently helps your financial system. On the financial rescue, again, I got to say, we've already done a tremendous amount, right? Just last week, the Consumer and Business Loan Initiative got into place. That's going to be crucial for getting, again, those secondary credit markets going. We're in the middle of the stress test, right? We're doing almost the equivalent of what Roosevelt did with the bank holiday, right? He shut it down, he checked all the books. Well, we didn't shut the bank. He says, no, but we're checking all the books.
But the hardest thing is valuing these assets on the bank's balance sheets. You know that's the hardest thing. That's what the previous administration knew was the hardest thing. They abandoned buying the assets because they couldn't figure out a price. That is the most difficult thing, and they have still not been a blueprint for how you're going to do it.
I can tell you that kind of a blueprint is top on our agenda, and I expect it to come out very soon.
Will there not be confidence in this administration's economic plan until we get that detail?
I actually think we're already generating confidence, and I think obviously the more we get out, the faster we're doing things, the more confidence we'll have.
But what is the key to it? The government's going to provide the financing for private equity to come in and buy these assets. Is that the plan?
That certainly is part of the plan. It's actually more than that. And so I will, again, I'll let the President and the Secretary of the Treasury tell you all about it.
Final point here. What is the responsible thing for consumers to do at the height of this global crisis?
That's an excellent question, right? So I think we know that consumers have lost a lot of wealth, and that normally what you'd say is they should be saving more. I think the truth is consumers have also not done a lot of spending for the last 14 months. So what I would predict, and I think would be a perfectly reasonable thing, is you go out and you buy that car that you've been thinking about for 14 months, and you do some of the spending. And then over the long haul, I'm hoping we'll come back to probably a higher savings rate, because we know we were at kind of a historic low before this all happened. I just said one of the things that the President has been very interested in is when we get through this, coming back to a healthier economy, not an economy fed by bubble and then where we have the bust. And that's part of the whole program of dealing with healthcare, dealing with energy, dealing with education, so that the economy we have 3 or 4 years from now is a much more stable, much able to have a sound expansion.
Dr. Romer, thank you very much for your views. Good luck with your work.
Great, thanks.